I hope you're all feeling as excited as I am to dive into today's discussion on driving sustainable innovation, the role of eco-design and circular economy in retail and wholesale. We've got a fantastic lineup of speakers who are true innovators in the field. They're here to help us to unravel the big question: how can we make our industries not only greener, but also smarter, more efficient, and ready for the future? And how can it be done within a policy framework? But before we jump in, let's meet Daniela Hajduk from EuroCommerce, who's going to introduce the association that organizes this session. Daniela coordinates EuroCommerce's communication activities as the head of communications and will kick off our session. Welcome, Daniela.
Good morning, good morgen. It's great to be here in Berlin celebrating 100 years of IFA. Normally we sit in meeting rooms in Brussels all day as I work for EuroCommerce, which is the European Retail and Wholesale Association, Handel und Großhandel representation in Brussels. I have to learn this, I guess. So, EuroCommerce has 20 plus people working in Brussels, and we represent all of retail and wholesale. So, not only consumer electronics, but also food, do-it-yourself, health and beauty, textiles, but also consumer retail. So, to be more precise, we represent 28 countries. So, our members are national associations in all of these countries that you see here, and also the international companies working, retailers and wholesalers selling in Europe, and many affiliated members. So you see some associations here, sector associations that are European, international, or national. And I would like to point out specifically, here, User Council. User Council is organizing a session with us today. They represent the consumer electronic retailers that are also here at the IFA. So there are lots of logos here that we represent, but generally I just wanted to shortly explain to you what does a European association do, what do we do in Brussels, 4 main areas of work: advocacy and regulatory work. So that means monitoring, analyzing legislation, providing input to policymakers on behalf of the sector, many meetings with officials to discuss and hope to sway legislation into the direction that it makes it practicable for the retailers. We are also a strong voice for the sector in Brussels, organizing high-level engagement and campaigns on a variety of topics. I will go into that just shortly. And we also organize CEO summits annually, once a year, in many discussions on emerging issues, also AI, cybersecurity, things that have been seen addressed here at the IFA as well. And in terms of thought leadership, we have grown a lot and are providing annual reports on grocery retail, for example, that's food retail, but also e-commerce. And our next report is coming out on the 10th of October, if you're interested. And very new this year, we are doing a report on specialty retail, which includes consumer electronic retail. So that's something new, and it will come out at the end of the year. So just that in terms of our work here in Brussels. All this to say that we know retail and wholesale very well, and also the challenges that they're facing. There's war on our borders. We see more supply chain disruptions, right? Climate change, protectionism, and high cost of regulation. And on top of that, our McKinsey study that we did together with them found that all of retail and wholesale, not just consumer electronics, all of us have to invest up to 600 billion euros to sustain the sustainability, digitalization, and the skills transformation that we have to go through. So this means the sector needs to invest specifically in sustainability and digitalization to stay competitive in Europe and globally, and to tackle climate change impacts. And for that, the sector needs to invest mostly in sustainability, but we have some projects that we are hoping to help the sector with, and I just want to highlight a couple of them. So that's my last slide here. For example, the digital euro. We believe that it can become a useful payment alternative in Europe if implemented correctly. So we are discussing with the European Central Bank, with the European institutions to see how we can do that best. We also work a lot on the single market because it's essential that the single market of the EU works properly for businesses to thrive properly. Unfortunately, there are still many obstacles, in particular for services, and we are making institutions aware of them. So we have a whole catalog of things that are not going right for the single market in various member states, and we're addressing them with them. And the last project that's, I think, most relevant here, I would like to draw your attention to, is the climate study that we did this year, together with Oliver Wyman, which very much links today's discussion, and we wanted to drive the discussion on reaching net zero to decarbonize the sector. Because to avoid unpredictable changes to the ecosystem, the EU has set itself some ambitious targets by 2030 to reduce carbon emissions and to decarbonize completely by 2050. So our report is called Net Zero Game Changer and looks at the hidden carbon footprint of the European retail and wholesale value chain. So our manufacturers, the retailers, and the consumers. And a few copies are available here if you want to read more details. But mainly what it found is that our emissions of the whole sector and the value chain link up to 1/3 of the whole EU emission. So our sector is big in that sense. However, I have to go in a bit of a technical detail here. Carbon emissions are divided into 3 groups, scope 1, 2, and 3. And 1 and 2 basically is what we can implement, what we tackle directly, with our energy consumption, and our sector has a lot of projects going on in that, so that's being handled, but that's just 2%. The 98%, the rest of that, is the value chain. It's the manufacturing, it's the transport, and it's what the consumers do with our products. Are they recycling them? How are they using them? What energy mix are they using? So it's very hard to influence, which basically says that we have to work together. Cooperation is key, and the challenges posed by climate change require a collective effort. It's our hope that this study will help practitioners and policymakers to understand our sector and try to help us get there. But now, I look forward to the other speakers talking about circular economy, eco-design, right to repair, digital passport. All of these things have an impact also on this goal. So thank you for listening to me, and I will hand back to Sascha.
Thank you so much, Daniela Hajduk from EuroCommerce. So coming up next, we are going to listen to Hans Karpels. He's the president of Euronics International and chairman of the EuroCommerce Council, who will share his thoughts on the key role of retailers in circular economy. He's seen firsthand how these concepts are transforming the retail landscape. The stage is yours. Welcome.
Good day to you all. This should work somewhere. Yes. This is back. Yeah. So the key role of retail in the circular economy. We think, well, from now we have 4 different areas where we can play immediately and what is, let's say, on our agenda. The first is a sustainability label supported by retail and industry. And as you know, there is a lot of buzz and there are regulations, and not everybody likes laws, but laws are coming from the EU in regulations, and then they have to be implemented in national law. So there is a clear regulation on digital product passport. That means that our sector, which is normally at a high level of attention of the EU Commission with consumer electronic products, with domestic appliances, with IT products, is, let's say, in the attention line. That means that we should do something properly, because we have the experience, if it is only done by politicians, it is not always properly done. So we prepare to give our insight from retail to, let's say, guide the politicians to the correct solution. But we cannot do that alone. We have to do that with the industry. And that is why we said, dear industry, the consumers want to know which product is sustainable and which is less sustainable. And for that matter, the energy label isn't sufficient. For instance, you have to know that you have the efficiency label on washing machines, but it is only, let's say that is standard, but it is only axed on the use of the Eco program in your washing machine. And the Eco program is only used for 5 or 6% of the cases. So that means we need additional elements to measure the sustainability. And we can look to the mobile phone industry, and there we are talking about Korean suppliers, you all know who we're talking about, but also from the global world, suppliers that have sat together with the mobile operators, and they have developed a sort of an eco-design label. They presented it to the EU, and the EU has accepted it. So that means when we from retail and the industry chip in and we propose a joint proposal to the European Commission, it is a fat chance that they will accept it too. So what we are looking at is a label per SKU, and I'm going to say it very clearly, in which the consumer can see, based on some elements, what is the percentage of sustainability that a product has. And therefore, the consumer can then decide whether to buy this product or another. And it is creating also a bit of a responsibility for the consumer, because if you have an ask to the consumer surveys, everybody is concerned about the environment. But then you have the proper analysis, the proper choice to make which product you would buy. And perhaps the more sustainable product is a bit more expensive than the less sustainable product. But okay, that is for you to analyze. Now, of course, when we do this, when we approached APLIA, the Association of the Industry, we said it has to be in line with ESPR, and you know that in the EU they like acronyms. It is ESPR, it is DPP, it is whatever. So we are clear. We indicated clearly, if we do not do our homework, the EU will come with a delegated act, and then to try to amend it is nearly, let's say, undoable. Therefore, we have an opportunity. Fortunately, APLIA has listened to our plea, a workshop, so that APLIA is the Association of Domestic Appliance Industry, both major and small domestic appliance. They have listened to our plea. They have put workshops in place. Yesterday, Davide, we met the president of, or let's say the Secretary General of APLIA, who confirmed that beginning of October, they would finalize their cornerstones for the progress, agreeing on the methodology of the sustainability label for laundry, so washing machines and dryers. Yeah? Then the next phase will be to gather all the data about criteria, and then the next phase would be to display that to consumer. So that is what Eucher does, let's say the TCG arm of EuroCommerce, in order to make progress here. Because the alternative would be that every retailer develops on its own sustainability label, which would confuse, of course, the consumer. Because then in shop A, they have a sustainability label on A, B, C, D. In shop B, they have a sustainability label on between 50 and 100%. And in shop C, they would only have a sustainability label not per SKU, but only per brand. So therefore, we think this is definitely a breakthrough. Now, you can say, yeah, which criteria would you put into this sustainability label? Now, those are a few suggestions from retail, but it is the industry, because as Daniela has said, the 95% is scope 3, meaning the supply chain. So the industry has to convey the criteria, but there are a few that we propose, being energy label, being connectivity. And you would say, yeah, why connectivity? Because then a product can be upgraded, yeah, with a new version of software, or it can be monitored for repair. Third, recyclability criterion, both for packaging and for the main product. And fourth, a repairability element. So, but those are suggestions from our side, and we have fed the Aplia association with those elements, and I think we will see very closely what the developments will be. A second topic that we want to touch upon today is the effort to step up the collection of the, what we call, with an acronym, WEEE, the waste of electronic and electrical equipment. Now, the EU has put standards on those per country to reach. And I can tell you, today, none of the countries in the EU reaches those standards. None. And you could say, yeah, perhaps are the targets too high? To a certain extent, yes. But also, if you want to change the behavior of the consumer, you have to put all the steps correctly in line. Now, in some countries, the execution is well done. In France, the execution and the collection of waste, which goes mainly via two streams, municipal, let's say, wasteland or collection points, and the collection points in the trade, so meaning our retailers. In France, this is rather managed well, but at the end of the day, it is the consumer that pays this system. Because the consumer, with each new product he buys, he pays one or less than €1 for the, let's say, recuperation of the products. Now, we've seen in some countries, as in Germany, there's no compensation for the retailer to do this work. And I say, yeah, but in France, it is well, let's say, the costs of the retailer are covered, but in Germany they aren't. So why would a German retailer do that work? So therefore, there are few of the smaller elements that should be adjusted, in which every chain in the supply and in the recollection of products gets covered and is treated fairly. Now, there's a topic, Davide, that we already have touched upon. For instance, online retailers normally do not take back the old material. This has to be then carried out on the back of the, let's say, traditional retail, what we call omni-channel retail. Also that is one of the extra elements to get a correct covering of the cost of the retailer who want to contribute to this system in order to achieve the right, let's say, targets that the European Commission has proposed. Because we want to do our job. We are very close to the consumer. We are very close thanks to proximity. We can help the European Commission to bring that to life. But then, of course, the certain standards should apply. Now, as I say here, there's a lack of remuneration. For instance, in Spain, only major domestic appliances are covered in this system, not IT, not TVs. There is a disparate system of calculating things in all the countries. And if we are citizens of Europe, why would we pay in France less contribution than, for instance, in Italy, or the other way around? Let us try to harmonize that in a certain way that the compensation is, let's say, covering the costs that are in the value chain. Now, a third element, and with a recent regulation that we have received from the European Commission, is the right to repair. Now, I promised not to be too aggressive to Davide, which is for me not always easy. But the European Commission has had the concept that every consumer should be able to repair the product that he bought. Now, personally, I think that is a bit of a dream world. Because, first of all, a very, 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 very tiny percentage of consumers are skilled to do that. And to open a smartphone to repair, it is not so obvious. Yeah? But that aside, we fully understand that in order to go to a circular economy, we have to be able to, if there's a fault in the device, first option should be to repair, not replace. But that means that in the value chain, you have to provide accessibility to manuals, accessibility to affordable spare parts, and then, of course, you have to train technicians. And we have to inform the European Commission that in certain countries, the average age of technicians is 57 years. Now, we will go to the governments, because with the rules and regulations, with the regulation of the Right to Repair Act, every country has to apply one additional rule in the country. We think it would be sensible to convince them, as in when a consumer is, let's say, confronted with an error in the product, he or she has a few options. You can say, how fast is this repaired? If you have fast repair, then the consumer will say, okay, I get it repaired. But then it has to be, the cost has to be under control. There are two elements in the cost. That is the price of the spare part, and second, the wages of the repairman. So we will go to the governments and plead that they subsidize the wage of the repairman in order to have more affordable repair. I can tell you, in Austria, they are already doing this, yeah? Only country in Europe, with a positive extent. We see way more repairs than previously. So it is clear that it has success. But then again, we should also have a campaign to attract more younger people to become a repairer. And the nice thing is, if he or she goes to school, electrotechnical school, we can nearly say, you have a job for the next 40 years, guaranteed, which not so many, trades can say. Now, of course, there are issues, but we want them to discuss with the European Union in order to solve them. And you should know that still in a few regions in Europe, there is a monopoly of repair that is kept by the industry. Now, with this Right to Repair Act, and I'm looking, for instance, at the Nordics, yeah? But with this Right to Repair Act, that monopoly will have to be disbanded. But okay, those are elements that we are looking forward to. And just to come to the conclusion, of course, our aim is to sell more sustainable products and less non-sustainable. And just to highlight, and I know this is a slide of a few years old, I'm trying to get the newer figures, because this is the overview of a survey in the US where they said, okay, and this is something that we in Euronics have put forward, would you spend more for sustainable products or not? And the 2021 data clearly give an increase of 17%, and you see the different target groups. And then the second question was, would you be ready to spend, let's say, 10% more for sustainable products? And also there, we see a huge uptick, of course, depending by age, but we see a huge uptick, meaning that the consumer is willing to spend more and to do his or her bit in a better sustainable world. Now, we have, I see that it's still the old presentation. Huh? It is version 3, not version 4. Sorry. We from Euronics, we have made an application to CINEA, which is the Directorate General of the EU on environmental cases. CINEA launches a program called LIFE, in which they accept applications from all possible players. Now, we as Euronics, we have submitted an application in which we say clearly we want to do our bit, and the application had a budget of 5 million. Now, the CINEA has made an evaluation of this application, and they have supported it. It has been accepted, and we will receive a budget from the European Union in order to train 18,000 staff members in order to promote sustainability towards the consumer. We will build repair corners in the stores, and we will develop, together with the industry and according to the DPP and the ESPR, we will develop a digital product passport. So with this endeavor, we think retail, and it proves that retail can contribute. And this, let's say, this application makes us very proud, because we are the first and the only retailer who was able to get that application approved and to be supported by CINEA. Now, I'm coming to the end of my presentation, and I don't know whether it is allowed by Sasha to have questions, but I think, no, it is not allowed. He's very German, eh? It's not allowed.
Thanks, Hans Carpenter. I didn't want to interrupt you, but we want to save some time for our discussion. We got some very important people here in the room, including you. Thanks for your talk. Take a seat, and also to save some time, maybe our panelists, I could kindly ask to enter the stage. Take your seats before I introduce you properly, because we have people here from the industries that are going to give some really important insights and thoughts on what has been said. Welcome. Yeah, as long as you have water and a microphone, everything is perfectly fine. It's so great to see you and have you here in our round. Now it's my pleasure to navigate us through our panel discussion on the evolving landscape of eco-design and circular economy in Europe. My name is Sasha Quaid, and I will, I'm thrilled to be your host. So we will explore how recent policy developments are influencing consumer electronics, retailers and consumers, and how these changes are already being embraced by the retail sector. So therefore, we have an esteemed group of experts here. Let me quickly introduce them. Hans, we already heard about you. Then we got here Andreas Scosoli, Chief of Retail Development at Unieuro and Chairman of IRIS, or AIRS? IRIS, representing the Italian consumer electronics sector with insights on Italy's approach to circular economy principles. Then we have Anna Maria Jaime, Vice President Sustainability at the MediaMarkt Saturn Retail Group, ready to discuss how sustainability is at the heart of one of Europe's biggest retailers. Thanks for being here. And also with us, Nick Dornheim. He is an advisor on environment at EuroCommerce, where he plays a key role in shaping sustainable trade policies. He represents the retail sector in the Eco-Design and Energy Labeling Consultation Forum at the European Commission, and is a member of the coordination group of the European Circular Economy Stakeholder Platform. Welcome. With your expertise, you will help us understand the policy implication, and it can be a lot, as we've heard. So let's dive directly into our first topic. My first question relates to the right to repair directive, as we've heard about that. Andrea, as the right to repair directive aims to make it easier and more affordable for consumers to repair their devices, are you observing a certain shift towards more repairs in the retail space? And how do you think this directive will affect the repair industry for consumer electronics?
You have to take the mic.
Yes. Well, Sasha, not yet, or let's say not in a meaningful way. As Hans said, of course, it's a new directive that will enter in force in a couple of years 26. In every nation, so it will take a while. And as always, repeating something that Hans has already said, there must be, according to me, certain conditions to succeed. Hans spoke about reduction, for example, the labor costs. Today, there's the needs of finding new guys that wants to employ in this kind of job is not easy. Probably there will need some fiscal helps. For example, a VAT, favorable VAT of repair services compared to other services. That's because if you want to change the mind of the consumer and to let him understand that it is better to repair than to change for a green thing or to meet the Green Deal target of Europe, you must keep this work convenient for the customer. Otherwise, it won't work. But apart from that, I hope there will be some helps from Europe, from the government. I think it will be a nice thing, a good thing for the entire sector. Of course, for the repairers, for the ecosystem that will receive a push from this directive, from this law. Even in terms of social re-evaluation of this profession, there will be more repairing center, more proximity, but at the same time, even a dimension aggregation of this repair center due to the fact that you need to find saving in costs, to find synergies. Otherwise, it's not sustainable economically and financially sustainable. And I think it's a great opportunity for us as a retailer. As Hans said, in some countries, for example, in Italy, repairing centers are managed directly by the industry, not by us as retailers. I think that all of us retailers should embrace this opportunity to recover the relationship with the customer, not only in the moment that when they purchase the product, but even when they have an issue, a problem, to fix the defect of the product. And this opportunity will even allow us to, let's say, control another new market, which is the second-hand market, that in this moment is more a niche market, limited to mobile phones mainly, and to the peer-to-peer channels instead of the, let's say, public channels or retail channels. So, and this will be a second opportunity to meet all the same, the spirit of the directive, because with second-hand you longer the life cycle of the product as well, and you can contribute to reduce raw material consumption and gas emissions and all those stuff. So I think it will be good, but not yet on.
So as I can see, a lot of challenges, but also possibilities.
Absolutely.
Let's change our perspective and let's shift over to eco-design and retailers. The eco-design and retailers perspective. It's a question for you, Anna Maria Jaime. Anna, we often hear about eco-design from the perspective of manufacturers and consumers, but can you explain why this is crucial for retailers? And how do you see the recently adopted eco-design and for sustainability products regulation impacting the retail industry out of your perspective?
Well, I think is important the most important is for the retailers, because we are actually putting all the industry together to sell the products. So if we don't have rules on you set it, Hans. If we don't have rules how to set what is the criteria for a sustainable product, you will start confusing the consumers from the one side. From the other side, we have to get active. So this is what we did on MediaMarkt. That's what we're sitting here together. We just created a way of telling the consumers what could be more sustainable. And I think this is the important part. That is the guidance, and this is what the directive is trying to bring up, and this is what we all hope at the end, is we tell the consumer, if you want a sustainable freezer, if you want a sustainable wash machine, don't look only on energy. Look on the use of the product.
Yes.
Look into, is the door of the fridge doing beep when you open the door and close? Take care of that. Take care of how much energy do you use. Not only but really take care of how you use products. And, of course, what we're doing is taking into consideration, you put it in your list as well, repairability. We take care of repairability. We're copying. We copy the standards that we are seeing in France that are very regulated. We just brought it to all other countries in Europe. And we're taking care of materials, recyclable materials. But here, very important, this is the work together with the industry, is we have to tell the industry, what do you have? It's not we're inventing things. The industry have to work with us. Are you certified? Give me all your certifications. I can help you to place the products, and I can help the consumers to understand that buying different kind of products, they don't have to cost more. We have made all the analysis of products on different energy classes, of sustainable, different materials. They may cost the same, but the ones are better from the sustainable perspective. So I think it's a good thing to standardize. Until everything is standard, we're not stopping. We're just doing what we're doing. We're helping the consumers. And then when the standardization comes, we will align with the standardization.
I want to agree. You agree to that?
100%. To chip in. For the audience to know, when you boil water on a hob, and it boils, and you let it boil for 12 seconds, it has this 12 seconds of using energy. It's the same to fully charge your iPhone. That has people to think about they use a product, and to be more relevant in saying, oh, we should do this instead of washing. If you wash at 20 degrees when it is not really soiled, your clothes, you save a lot of energy, and the result is the same. But people think you have to go to 40, 60 degrees. But no, that is not the case. So there's so much also for us to do to explain to the consumer the right, let's say, the right usage.
Yeah, it's not only your responsibility, but also mine as a consumer speaking. So it's a lot of communications work that has to be done. Coming back to the certification moment or the digital product passport, question for you, Hans. How do you think this will influence consumer behavior?
Well, if you look around, there is so much innovation. If you spend time at the supplier side, they have detailed information product by product, which most of the consumers do not even know. They do not even use them. So in the digital product passport, those elements can be registered. It is a better guidance towards the consumer to be more aware of what he or she is buying and whether that contributes to sustainability or not. So we are a big supporter. That's why also the efforts.
I'm coming back to you because what you've said means that there's a lot of change also within your business model, I can see. So MediaMarkt Saturn is one of Europe's largest retailers. How are you integrating sustainability into your business practices, and what challenges have you encountered in putting these principles at the core of your operations?
I think the question is very important because we all retailers just bought products and resell them. That this is our main job. Is actually super easy if you think about it. You could think, and if you think about the years before, what we wanted was just to increase the margins, sell a lot, increase the margins. Now the job is a completely different job. Because the consumers, our customers, ask us different things. We cannot just go and say, I just sell and I don't care what I sell. And it starts putting into the strategy, as at least for MediaMarkt, was looking into 3 blocks. First, all the climate issues that we heard. What are the emissions that we're causing in our business, our online shop, our stores all over Europe, our transportation, and the most important, the products that we are reselling. This is the complete scope 3. How in life can I know how many tons and millions of tons of emissions I have? So this is the one block that we introduced in the strategy. The second block was changing the way of doing things to circularity, circular business. So we started already some years ago with repairability. We start now at the beginning with sustainable products that will live longer. This is the first step. Then you have repairability. Then we have, of course, all what is related to protection of devices. We have a MediaMarkt Plus, which is a new system where you can buy for less money a subscription, and you can repair all your devices, all what you have at home. You can repair it at any time if you pay your monthly subscription. Then we have trade-ins. You can bring your old devices. We take it. We repair the devices, and then we resell the products into the refurbished market. The refurbished market is a huge market, huge market. We see an increment of 400% since last year. We're getting into really strong. So as you see, it's not only we sell new products. No, we're changing the system. And the industry is also working with us together to do it. We have here the complete industry. We see Apple, we see Samsung. They are not sitting with us together only for pricing. They're sitting with us together to discuss how to implement the circularity and how we can show the customers and explain the customers how to do the business.
Correct. Because the old product still has a value.
Perfectly said. Andrea, maybe one last thing before we dive into policy implications. Speaking of greenwashing, let's target that topic. To address greenwashing and ensure that environmental labels and claims are credible, the European Commission has proposed a new directive on green claims, which is currently under negotiation. So what benefits do businesses gain from green claim directives? What would you say? What are the potentials?
Well, I say that it's time to do something in that direction. If you think that the words green, sustainable is on everyone's mouth today, how can a consumer understand what is more or less sustainable or green? So I agree that Europe should take an action on that. On the other hand, of course, we are talking again of putting more costs and investment in the system, of course. That's what I'm just worried about because, as you know, as said by the colleague before, suppliers have to implement new certifications, new assessments. We as a retailer, if we want to get the chance and the opportunity, of course, we have to train our people to speak a new language, to inform with new characteristics and features on the product, the customer, in order to help him to make the right choice. We have to implement our IT system to get more information, not only price and technical characteristic. We probably have to rethink to our stores, to layout of our stores in order to make them more self-explaining for the customer and helping the customer to make the choice between a more sustainable or less sustainable product. So it's a good thing. I think it's worth the while, but it will be a very tough, let's say, duty.
Nick, because we are almost at the end of our time, could you please wrap up it a bit for us? So let me see. How will you bring the consumers along on this journey? What message do you have to the audience? Including what has been said and also the perspective you got from the inside of the European Commission.
I think my conclusion would be, you see that consumer electronics is really an essential sector. We are really the direct link to the consumer. We are ready to engage. We saw some great examples here from the panel, and we know we have also other members that have great things they're doing. So speak to your consumer retailer. We are basically everywhere. You can find us online. You can find us offline in the stores. Come to us, talk to us. We are ready to do our part, but we cannot do it alone. And I think it was mentioned, we need to work with the consumers. We need to communicate. We need to have the clear framework. We need to have a strong single market. Yeah. We need to work with the suppliers. And I think as EuroCommerce, as associations, we're also pushing the European institutions, because the rules don't only need to be created, they also need to be implemented and enforced.
Yeah. Hans, could you maybe wrap that up?
And we prefer that the regulators speak to us before they make votings, not after that. That they first get the assessment of the real world, not utopia, of the real world, and that we take it from there and take steps together. We will do our bit. We will do our bit. But the consumer has to understand it has a cost. Everything has a cost, and but we are ready. We are ready for business.
And I think I would put on these, if the regulations are not, let's say, put together with our wishes, it doesn't matter. We just have to comply. And the first thing that I would recommend anyone here is, it doesn't matter if it's a small company or a big company, look into the opportunities to create and embrace business. And sustainability is not just sustainability apart. It's a little bit, I'm coming from business. I do sustainability, but it's just integrating sustainability into the business models that we have. So there is a huge opportunity. The laws are tough, really tough. There are moments where I sit there and say, how am I going to do this? But still, we always get the way of doing it, implementing, and creating new business.
So basically, it's a process of togetherness, and we have to talk to each other before implementing something that is not good for me as a consumer, and also for the business side and the industry side. Correct. Thank you so much for being here with us, and I think we can relocate this discussion, because there might be some questions not now on the stage, but you're going to be around and you're open to talk to the people, right?
Correct.
Perfect. Thank you so much for being here. It was a pleasure to have this discussion with you guys.
Well done.